Hello and welcome on WatchesTV, and I'm very glad to bring you along to India for the visit of the Titan Group, consisting of a bit more than 10 brands. A group founded some 40 years ago and part of the bigger Tata Group, and to put it simple, well, they produce by themselves more watches than the entire Swiss watchmaking industry, meaning 15 million watches per year. Okay, most of them are quartz, but since 10 years they decided to venture into the world of mechanical movements to the point that they even introduced two tourbillon watches. Okay, these last two could be seen as talking pieces, but nonetheless, it's just a sign of where they want to head. Okay, and let's be honest, well, the hill is still steep, but you know the saying, when there's a will, there's a way. And this I could definitely feel during the full visit of their infrastructure in Bangalore. And something else I wanted to mention, something that I really immensely appreciated during my stay there, was the openness and transparency with which they explained what they were doing, how they were doing it, with whom, and so forth. It felt good and almost surprising to witness such transparency. Okay, let's find out more about Titan. Tell us a little bit the main milestone that the Titan brand and group went through over those 40 years.
So of course we revolutionized watchmaking and selling in India, and that was launched in the late 80s. So the big milestones for us was of course the launch of the Titan brand, but also bringing watch retailing and really modern retailing across categories to India the way we see it today. So showrooms with air conditioning, with fantastic consumer service, great after sales service. So that was a big milestone for us. Fast forward to around 2002 I think, where the next big milestone was the Edge movement. And really this was a challenge that our founder at that time threw to the factory and development team, saying, what can you do for us that is really world class and a first of its kind in the world? And in the late 1990s, the team here actually developed the slimmest quartz movement in the world, which was also water resistant. And that's something very few people know, that at the time of its launch in 2002, Edge was the slimmest watch in the world, also water resistant. And yeah, that's a great milestone. It was the beginning of a great brand as we see it today. The other big milestones for us, again, in the late 90s, early 2000s, was the launch of brands like Raga. So Raga again is extremely unique because it brings together the aspirations of modern Indian women and our sense of aesthetic together. So that was a big milestone for us, and I think a lot of those laid the foundation for the kind of brands and offering that we see today. I can't not talk about the launch of the tourbillon, which is the other big milestone. That was this watch that we launched last year in December 2024, to commemorate our 40th anniversary, which was the first tourbillon made in India.
In India, but with some kind of backup.
Absolutely,
coming from Switzerland.
With collaborators from around the world, absolutely.
But before the tourbillon, you started a few years back, indeed, developing this mechanical branch of your movement capacities production. Tell us a little bit, again, what was the idea there and how you managed to pull it off?
Absolutely. So while Titan brought the quartz revolution to India, and a large part of perhaps the first 30 years was all about really quartz and beautiful designs. Again, I think it's testimony to how ahead of the times our teams have always been. About a decade ago, the teams internally started working on really seriously developing our own mechanical movement platforms. And fast forward to COVID and post-COVID.
But what was the reason? What motivated you?
I think one of the things that as a company, and you'll see this across the categories that we operate in, is our need for deep category expertise. And we realize that the world of watchmaking and horology is incomplete unless you really know and master mechanical movements. So that was the starting point. Okay. And we said, how do we build our own portfolio? How do we deepen our knowledge of horology, our expertise? And that was the beginning. And I'm so grateful that we did it a decade ago, because post-COVID, in India, we suddenly saw a huge interest and spike in the interest in mechanical and automatic watches. and we were very, very well poised with our own portfolio of mechanical movements.
So what are your ambitions today when it comes indeed to the development of this mechanical dimension of your portfolio?
So it's a huge area of focus for us. Mechanical and automatic movements and the watches that we make are multiplying every year. That's how big the interest in this category is. We will continue to work on our mechanical and automatic platforms to build higher functionalities, but we're also looking at complications like the tourbillon, further complications on the tourbillon, and lots of other platforms. So it's a huge area of focus and work currently.
So the tourbillon that the first one that you
Yes.
came out indeed for the 40th anniversary, was it a statement or is it really kind of opening the door?
I would say it's definitely opening the door. Like I mentioned, this tourbillon is, you mentioned collaborators, and I must tell you that this tourbillon movement is wholly designed by us, so it is our own tourbillon. We later then worked with some Swiss collaborators to actually validate the design and curate some of the gears, but we're extremely proud that this is our own design. Of the 140 odd parts that go into the tourbillon, we manufacture about over 100 of them, and that is really about opening the door to our own capability. Yes, it did make a statement, but this is just the beginning of many more functionalities and complexities that we're working on.
So based on that movement, you followed up with quite a high artistry timepiece.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this one also.
So when we launched the first tourbillon last year, we were incredibly proud, and we had already started working on the second possible tourbillon watch. And we were very clear that with the second watch, we wanted to do something that was uniquely Indian. So this was about Indian horology, what Indian manufacturing is capable of. And we said how beautiful it would be if we could combine that with the kind of artistry and craftsmanship that is Indian, and therefore bring it together, bring the art and science of it together to create a watch that is uniquely Indian. And that was the beginning of Jalsa. Jalsa is, we say it's our love letter to Jaipur. Jaipur, the city, is very well known because it's a very, very popular tourist destination. But what perhaps a lot of people don't know is that Jaipur is one of the first few planned cities in India. So Maharaja Jai Singh, who founded the city, really brought art, science and architecture together in that city. So you have beautiful forts and palaces, but you also have beautiful commercial areas that are all planned out. And you have observatories, which is really his nod to science and what he felt the future of science would be. And so in Jaipur, we found a city that was a beautiful blend of art and science, which is where we wanted to be. And one of the most iconic buildings in Jaipur, which is instantly recognizable, is the Hawa Mahal.
When you did this development, were you thinking more of catering to indeed an Indian audience, or you thought that this could interest also international collectors?
I think it would be safe to say that this perhaps speaks a lot more to an Indian audience, because it is about a city and an emotion and an architectural marvel that all of us recognize. Everything else it also celebrates the craft of Sri Shakir Ali, who is a Padma Shri miniature painter. So again, it's a craft form that a lot of Indians are familiar with. And everything from the color, the gold, the color of the red agate stone sort of celebrates that city. So I would think that this perhaps speaks to the Indian community wherever they are around the world. But I also feel that watches tell stories more than just being designs. And this is a story of the passion of a particular person to build something like that city, and that emotion may appeal to a lot more people.
Coming back again to the development, the capacity that you have here, what would you say are the main points that you want to improve within the next few years?
So I wouldn't use the word improve as much as focus on. You visited our facility today and you saw the huge facility that we have in terms of movement manufacturing and movement assembly, and we have large teams with many years of experience. One of the things that we are doing is to actually create a smaller team of specialist watchmakers and watch assemblers, because as we move forward in the premiumization journey with mechanical movements, it's important for us to identify small teams of people who can then work on assembling from start to finish the complications that we're working on. So in different areas, whether it's polishing, movement, assembly, we're trying to create small teams of super specialists. So you spoke about the 15 million watches, but here it will be about creating small teams that can work on the few thousand watches and assemble those as really master watchmakers.
Okay. And kind of on a marketing level, when you do market research, what do people respond to the label "Made in India"? What are their reactions?
So I think in the last decade or so, there's been a lot of growing pride in the Made in India label. We're of course constantly hearing stories about how some of the best brands in the world have been sourcing from India for many, many years. And it's only in the last decade or so that we're really proud of brands that carry the Made in India tag as well. And yeah, there's an increasing pride, there is an increasing belief in our own capability. And I think that augurs well for brands like us.
Walk us through a little bit the design process that you go with your team here.
So we follow very, very robust design process, and I think it starts from, I would say, consumer insight. We strongly believe that what we create, it is for the consumer segments, for the persona whom we design, and at the core of our design lies the heart of the consumer. So I think the connection with the consumer, their emotional appeal towards the product defines our design process. So emotional centered design is really heart of what we do, that we cater to various consumer personas, various consumer psyche, or I would say the psychographic maps of various kind of consumer at different price point and different value proposition, and what we offer to each set of consumer, a very different design.
You're selling mainly to Indian audience or Indian sensibility, whether locally or abroad, because now you are indeed selling watches in various countries, and you want to extend that, meaning that maybe reach out a little bit outside of this sensibility. How do you take that into consideration, and how do you adapt it in your design language?
We strongly believe that in today's context, design has become pretty much global. The sensibilities of design, in fact, the preferences of Indian people with respect to all the price points on which we work has become very, very global. So I think the global sensibility of design is very, very important part of what we wanted to create. What kind of product which we really want to shape for the people. So having said that, the proportions, the color, the trends which are happening in the world of fashion or art are really important for us, so that we can translate those global sensibilities into the products which we create. Having said that, there are of course nuances of Indian buyers. There are nuances in terms of what they like, what they prefer. So whether it's subtle flamboyance on their wrist, or a little bit of dressy look, very festive look, we cater to those beautiful sensibilities of Indian buyer. But in general, you would find Titan watches are very, very global in terms of its taste, in terms of its aesthetic, in terms of its styling.
But at the same time, if you produce and design watches that in a certain way others could produce or are already producing, then you're not making yourself kind of a distinct feature there also. So I mean, the balance between trying to be global but at the same time being able to affirm that you are of Indian origin with I guess it's something that is you need to cultivate, because it's a differentiator that people need to get drawn to.
Of course. So I think the design, when I say in terms of styling, in terms of form, language, it is global, but the soul of watch, in terms of the aesthetics, what we try to really portray, or the emotions which we try to portray in the watch, is mostly local, it's mostly Indian. clear example, I would say the extreme example of it would be Jalsa, which is the tourbillon, which is really rooted in Indian craftsmanship. While at the same time, Indians are very, very highly engineering oriented, and you find Edge is a celebration of our mastery of engineering, which is a really slim platform. So you would find the soul of these brands and soul of the product rooted to what we do, or what India is known for, but you would have a global sensibility. So we are very different in terms of what we do, but with a very global panache, I would say that.
All right, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed discovering this infrastructure of Titan in India. We didn't see everything, they have other sites elsewhere, but nonetheless quite an impressive setup, and we're really looking forward to seeing where they will head in the next few years. Thanks for watching, see you real soon, and as we go, Viva Watchmaking!